new minority ownership for the New York City Football Club. A lot of people look excited and seem excited about it, so we'll get into that a little bit. 7 matches without a win in MLS play for New York City. And Mauricio Pochettino, he's introduced to the media and the world on a live stream last week as a new head coach of the U.S. men's national team. All that coming up on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello, welcome back, Roberto. There he is, Roberto Abramowitz. I'm Glenn Crooks, your favorite sick podcast, NYCFC Views couple. And Roberto, I have to admit, well, first of all, the most important part of our opening, of course, is this. If people are watching, this is the set list for Bruce Springsteen at the See Here Now Festival in Asbury Park over the weekend. How about a concert on the beach, though? Come on, man.
I'm so freaking jealous. You have no idea.
It was crazy.
It's like the only time I'm ever jealous of not being in Jersey.
But, he did things like Trey Anastasio. I mean, there's a lot of fans of Fish, I'm sure, in the audience. And
of course.
He comes up on stage and does Kitty's Back. Now, Kitty's Back is one of the, off his, I think, first album. He did an entire, Jersey Shore, New Jersey metro area concert. Every song related to the Big Jers, for the most part. And there were a few exceptions. But, man, what a check out that. I mean, people are very envious of this set list. I can tell you that right now.
I am. I'm one of them. I'm absolutely 100% one of them.
So
I haven't gone seen music in a long time. Yeah, I really need to get back into that.
Well, boy, I've been flooded with it, right? I went with my daughter to the Blues Fest. Saw my gal Beth Hart. Mary and I, my wife, we're going to go see Beth Hart at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey at the end of September. What other music do I have coming up? I don't remember, but there's a couple of things in there. Oh, a blues singer named Tracy Nelson. Another one. She's got this Janis Joplin kind of thing in her. Anyway,
raspy voice.
So, Roberto, you probably know this about me since we've known each other long enough. Is that when it comes to finances and budget and understanding, valuations and billions, and am I accurate to say that New York City is now valued at $1.5 billion? Based on this edition of Marcelo Claure, the Bolivian.
Claure, you did very well before we started. Now it happens. So it's Marcelo Claure. Yeah, Sportico says it's that. So your understanding of it is perfect.
Okay.
So if he's paying, 10% stake and it's 15 billion, I mean. That's $150 million he put in there.
All right. Well, good for him. And it's like
he's got it, by the way. I mean, that's and it's not. He doesn't have to change his lifestyle in any way to be able to do this.
I've got his resume.
Thank you, T-Mobile.
I've got his. Yeah, right. I said I've got his resume here. How about Sprint? Yeah, Sprint and T-Mobile. SoftBank Group. But the most interesting part from the soccer side of it is that he was an original owner of Inter Miami.
Yeah. Yes, he was the lead financial investor, if I remember this correctly, in David Beckham's team, because David Beckham got the MLS discount with his contract to play for the LA Galaxy, that he was only going to have to pay 25% of whatever it was. And I think at the time that Inter Miami bought it was like $150 million. So it cost them 25%. And then Beckham brought Claude in. Beckham made out like a bandit. Good for him.
So he's also the president of Club Bolivar, Bolivia's largest pro soccer team, co-owns Girona, which is a City Football Group member, and owns Team Brazil, which is in the E1 series, not F1, E1 Electric Race Boat Championship.
Oh, that's race boat.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh. I didn't know race boat. I mean, I know there's Formula E, and they have a race annually in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do, but they used to.
The first only electric race boat championship, it says here. So,
well, that would be nice and quiet. I would take that, because if you ever listen to a cigarette boat go by, they are really, really loud.
They are, huh? I don't know. Okay, a cigarette boat. I get the before we leave, Marcelo Claure.
He's not French. It's Claure.
Claure.
There you go. And it's Bolivar, by the way.
And so it's not. It's the holding is New York City FC and the new stadium. So I think there's a certain level of interest there. It's like a combined ownership thing. And leading into the Club World Cup and then the World Cup, and it just seems like New York City's riding a high, not on the pitch right now, but they are riding a high with the addition of this guy who's going to be co-vice chairman with Marty Edelman, and now a 10% stake in NYCFC and the stadium. Okay, so very good. Let's get to the football. Boy. New York City has taken the lead in 4 straight games.
Yeah.
They haven't won any of them.
Nope.
They have 3 losses on the season when they've held the lead at the interval, at halftime, which that's too many.
Yeah.
You know, I put this in the notes. They need to take some tips from Gotham FC. Listen to this. So last night, Gotham beat Seattle. In Seattle, 2-0. Gotham is 12-0-2 when they score first, and they are 9-0-1 when leading at the half.
I mean, those are excellent numbers. That's how you finish out games.
But this is, I'm telling you, I'm going to study that. If I have a team that's struggling, and I'm going to study to see what, and I don't have the answer because I haven't watched all the Gotham games. I've watched many more New York City FC games. I think, the overriding factor that you hear from Nick Cushing, the head coach, and anybody on the staff that you talk to is the one of the words is evolution. The other word is youth, with pointing at people like McFarlane and Ilinich and Gray. So we hear about that, but James Sands? Well, the penalty that he had on Coup Di Pietro, which led to the tying goal by Benteke, and instead of 3 points, won against DC United. Sorry, DC United is not a good side. I'm sorry.
They're not.
They're just not.
They're not.
They're not that good.
And they've been terrible at home.
Yeah, that's wild.
They've been really good on the road, but they've been awful at home. And New York City found a way not to come out of there with a victory.
Oh boy! Well, let me.
And it's happened too often.
Let's go start with Jimmy, our producer, Jimmy. Jimmy, we're going to go to the third cut on Sands, the Sands foul. Now, this is a discussion with Nick Cushing, part of the pregame show, and let's just let it roll, and then we'll talk about it, Roberto. Last game, we talked about some of the deficiencies in the late game, maybe due to the youth of a McFarlane or an Ilinich or a Gray, but the penalty on Coup Di Pietro was James Sands, and it was pretty out of control with Tavon Gray also around. And if we have this right, it's the 4th time that Sands has
committed a foul that's earned a penalty for the opposition. So I have to think that's a little disappointing when it comes from one of your veteran players.
Yeah, we spoke about it this morning, and he said the same. He said, it was a bit just one of those things you got to learn from, right? It's a snap decision, and he's been quality for us this year. I think you look at his data and ball recoveries and his duels won, he's top level, right? So when this happens, it is what it is. You move past it. I'm not going to sit here and say, he should do it, he shouldn't do it. He knows. We spoke about it this morning, and he knows. So it's disappointing, but for him, it's fuel to just go and make sure you play well in the Philly game.
Yeah, I guess it's part fuel, and there's not much more you can do about it. But it was just odd. It was odd because Gray was in the area. He's in the corner of the box. I don't know.
He's not going to hurt you there.
I don't understand why you don't approach it with your feet. But you can lose it. Listen, you work hard during a game, and you have sometimes there's temporary insanity from exhaustion or whatever.
Yeah, look, I get it, and he understands that he made a mistake, right? So it's one of those things where it's these little individual mistakes that have been happening so often. So this time it was Sands. Before it was a couple of bad passes from Tavon. It was all these little things, and they keep on adding up, and they keep on costing New York City points, which. Thankfully for them, nobody around them has really, grabbed the bull by the horns and gone away. Orlando now jumps them because they have a better goals scored. It's the same differential, but goals scored. And so, that's a different thing. But it's, all these opportunities lost. So this is a team now that has only won one game since July 3rd, since they beat Montreal that day. And the one game that they won was against the best team that they've played all year, which is Tigres. And that game they were able to see out. But they haven't been able to see out any of these other games against MLS teams that are not as good as Tigres. It's just so weird.
I was going to put that as my intro. It's like, what happened to Tigres? What happened to Tigres? We haven't seen anything. There could be dispute from the staff, but we haven't seen anything close to that. I don't think. In these other games, because come on, the Chicago Fire, DC United. I'm sorry, and for those supporters, Frank Klopas, if you're watching, I'm sorry, man. There's not a chance in hell that New York City should give back a 2-0 lead to the Fire, but it happened, and it happened at home. So it's look. All right, let's move on a little bit because the game started brightly. And this is the confounding part of New York City FC is trying to figure this out over a 90-minute period because they played really well in the early portion of the game, and then it was a fullback from Princeton who draws the foul. Kevin O'Toole, Sandy Rodriguez converts the penalty on the Panenka. So I asked Nick about O'Toole in particular, part of the pregame show coming up against Philadelphia tomorrow night. Here you go.
But the fact that he was in the center of the park kind of started his run from the penalty spot and then gets tripped up right at the top of the 6. Well, personally, I always like when the fullbacks are in the middle creating.
Yeah, we know that he's got the ability to go in there, and if we get him in there, it means that we can get an extra body up the pitch, so we can get Keaton Parks up. It keeps Maxi and Santi up there, and also Kevin's got the technical ability to play as a midfield player. I do believe he could play in there. So he had a chance earlier on in the game that where he ends up for the cutback for Hannes is part of our trying to be more offensive, trying to get more bodies in the box. I thought the build-up play for the penalty was excellent. So it definitely does give us an extra body in there.
The build-up play was excellent. That was probably their best possession of the game. They were really because it was undecided whether they were going to serve it or were they going to get in behind early, which they managed to do quite often in the first half. And then O'Toole did the work, and it was a clear penalty, as clear as James Sands was on Di Pietro, Pedro Santos on O'Toole. He just completely wiped him out. Crazy. Another crazy foul. in the
It
box.
was. I mean, it was a body block. It was sort of like, well, the Washington Commanders were in town instead of DC United.
You can tell Roberto's back in the NFL, man.
And I am. Got a game on Thursday. I got a busy week, by the way. I've got a busy week. So Saturday we did the game in DC. We flew back right after the game. Sunday, from my living room, I worked for CBS, and I did the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tennessee Titans for CBS on SAP. And then Monday, go to practice. Today, I'm doing this. Tomorrow, we've got New York City against Philadelphia. Thursday, I've got the Jets at New England at MetLife that I'm calling on the radio, 107.5 HD2 or the Jets app. That's going to be in Spanish. And then I don't know if I'm going to make practice on Friday or Thursday, rather, because of that. Friday, I guess I'll take off to put my notes together and everything. Saturday, I've got New York City and Miami. And Sunday, I actually have off.
I've got 4 games in 5 days myself.
There you go. So which ones do you have? Come on, you can promote it.
College soccer. Well, the 2 New York City games and then 2 Rutgers University games. One against Oregon and one against Washington. The realigned Big Ten.
I was like, what were you playing? The Pac-12? Yeah, it's a Big Ten now.
Pac-12 is no more, and then UCLA later in the year. But it's Oregon and Washington making their first trips to the Garden State to play Rutgers. All right, so Santi Panenka. That's his second Panenka of the year. He's 3 for 3 in the regular season. And we know that the game got tied up in the second half. Now, here, I'm going to play this from Nick, too. And then you did a screenshot. So this is worthy of discussion because it's very hard to understand a couple of parts of this. So this is Alonso Martínez puts New York City up, apparently, 2-0 in the 44th minute. How big a moment this is. An incredible ball out of the midfield from Keaton Parks. And, I mean, you'll hear let's play the Nick cut, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll also show that screenshot afterwards. But this is Nick. You'll see the play while Nick is talking about it from our pregame briefing. Here it is.
Naked eye, because we were right on the line as the broadcast duo in our little booth. It looked like it was even and on, and then on the replay it had a similar look. Have you seen any other angles? What do you think? You can't do anything about it now, but it is what
he's
it
onside.
is.
He's onside. I've seen it from every angle possible, and he's onside. I think it's tight, but I think if you understand, I have the same frustration with all the referees. I don't think they understand the game. I think there's a handful that are top. I think there's a lot that don't understand the game at all. And if you think of a number 9, you know yourself, Glenn. If you go 1 second late, you're not getting there. If you go 1 second early, you're clearly offside. So timing is everything. And the benefit has to go with the attacker, because when it's that tight, that is incredible movement. For him, his timing of run to get in behind and blind side of the centre half to get the pass he's onside. So it's really disappointing, because for me, you should reward the number 9 with the timing, because he is onside there. I also think if you look across the line's 1 yard behind the back line, so we can't accurately call it anyway. So that's why I think we rely on the VAR to look at it and say, actually, I think you should check this. The one thing that I will say is the 4th official said to me when I asked that they literally pushed past it really quickly. He said it actually moved on a lot quicker than I thought. So it's not ideal, right? At least stop and look at it, because it's a critical part of the game. It's a crucial moment for us.
What you're saying is we probably had the best line of it.
Yeah, you were probably in a better position.
Booth.
You were in a better position than the linesman.
All right.
Yeah. It's funny because as I'm looking at it today again, and I'm looking at the replay, and I forgot what he had said. Okay, and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, "Oh my God, the linesman behind the play." I'm looking at it, and he was behind the play. So here's the still that I took off TV today, and I mean, you could see he's behind, and then there's no way that Martinez is in front of the defender at that point.
It's one of those where, as always, for an AR calling offside, it's impossible to see the ball and the runner simultaneously. You use your peripheral vision to the best of your ability. You use the sound of the ball being struck, but there's all these different things that the AR is taught to do. But he's clearly behind the play right there, which is what Nick referred to. And after seeing it so many times, it's just disappointing that the flag went up, because we know it would have been, it would have been reviewed anyway.
Exactly. All goals are reviewed.
So if he was off, then they'd call him off. So why negate a goal in a sport where I'm certain they're encouraged to
keep the flag down?
Yeah,
100% they keep. Okay, so Adam Garner is a referee on that side. That was his 284th game. So he's done this for a while. This isn't new for him, and it's you give the advantage, you give the benefit of the doubt to the attack. That's the way they're supposed to ref these things. Now, once you call it offside, and this is key here. Once you call it offside, now you got to find irrefutable evidence. I actually think it's there. I think the irrefutable evidence is there. I'm shocked as much as a fourth official was shocked. Who was that? That was Luis Diego Arroyo, who's in his 53rd game, who Nick Cushing spoke with, that they went through it that quickly. That needed to be examined very, very closely. It needed to be really examined and looked at. That's one of those where they should have gone 2 or 3 minutes taking a look to make sure that this was, because that should have been a goal. Now, John Rojas, who was listening to our broadcast and watching the game at the same time, he wrote me at the time, and he said, I think it was because there was a foul there. He thinks that Alonso pulled his shirt or something, or pulled his arm. But I'm having a hard time seeing that. And, everybody who's watched the goal and watched our replay that we just showed, or go and watch it again on your television set, which is much clearer than this, man, you go and you see if you see that. But to me, it looks like I don't see it.
Roberto, though, but if you had the ref mic and listened to what he said afterward, he didn't make any reference to a foul.
No, I know that, and I did have the ref mic, and he just said, it was a goal. It was offside.
It was offside, no goal, confirming the call. So there was no discussion of a foul. If there was, then they better. One thing I said to Mark Geiger in that interview, I played a clip last week from it. I probably should play a couple of more, because there's some interesting moments. But I asked him about the fact that they're making the announcement at the stadium, but they're not giving enough detail.
Yeah,
they need to give more detail, like Ted Uncle saying that, right? Kevin O'Toole, no handball against Columbus, right? So he didn't call the handball, but the Drew Fisher, the VAR, 100% thought it was a handball, and there were others within the referee community that 100% thought that was a handball. Okay, that's why he called him over. But then Uncle came out and just said, "No handball, free kick from the spot," rather than "no handball because blah 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 blah." That's what we want to hear. There's no explanation. You could just put that on the scoreboard. No handball. I mean,
right. All he has to do is just do that and go.
Yeah. So
that's it. You don't need to verbalize that.
I'm puzzled that they really aren't explaining it, because that's what we were told. They were going to explain the call. Well, they don't explain it.
Explaining the call is different than just saying what the call is.
Now,
that's the headline.
Geiger.
Now we want to know the details.
Geiger did say he favors having the entire conversation between the referee and the VAR.
So do I. We've been talking about this. Absolutely.
No, let me finish. But it doesn't matter if you think it's this guy's the general manager.
I know that. Don't have to rub it in.
No, I'm not rubbing it in. I'm just saying, because let me finish the point. He wants it. His gang wants it, but IFAB is not permitting it yet, and they are the governing body of rules worldwide. So there you go. And you're going to say something about Australia. They don't have it at every game. They don't have it at every game, apparently. So
we have to ask for a permission for this then. I mean, look, MLS gotten permission for a lot of different rule changes along the way. So this definitely should be one. If they're going to use us all as guinea pigs, might as well do it on this.
Yeah. Well, MLS Next Pro is their real guinea pig, and then if it works there, then they bring it. Except the 15-second rule to me doesn't work, but there you go. The one thing they did said, you know how much I despise that rule, and my partner Maddie Lawrence, Wilfred Nancy, Nick Cushing, and the 15-second rule again. Quick review: you stay on the field for more than 15 seconds. Injured, if it's not a head injury, you have to stay out for 2 minutes unless you're substituted for. What's ridiculous about it is that no one's trying to delay the game 10 minutes into the match if it happens. And if you're trailing, didn't it happen in a game we did earlier this year? I can't remember if New York City was trailing or the opponent, but there was a 2-minute thing. And I'm pretty sure it was New York City, and they're down a goal. You're not going to waste time if you're down a goal. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. You're
absolutely ridiculous. So they've got to.
Maybe they'll tweak them. And look, after year one, they do these things. So look, in the NFL, they put pass interference that you could challenge that, and they did that for a year, and it was a nightmare, and they took it out. So try it. Doesn't work. Take it out.
At the FIFA U20 Women's World Cup right now, where the U.S. has advanced to the semifinals, good for them, with an incredible come from behind. One of these, they're down 2-1.
They were down 2 goals in stoppage time.
Yeah, 2 goals in stoppage time to win it.
And they came back.
But what they're utilizing is each coach can make 2 appeals for something to be reviewed. So it's a different kind of thing. You can what is that? Basketball does that, or
basketball does it, and so does the NFL. So they have the red flag, and they can throw the red flag, and then the referee comes over and says, "What?" And he goes, "I don't think that was offside."
But I don't.
All right, fine. Let's go look at it.
I don't have a clear understanding as to whether they would look at other things on their own, like the VAR, or could it only be a coach request? So I don't know the answer to that. I do know that each coach gets 2 per game that they can utilize if they want. So that's those are rules to think
use
about.
Use technology. Right? How would you use it if you were still coaching?
The VAR?
Yeah, if you had challenges.
Well, because everything's in front of you on your iPad, and you can see the replay. You can see all these guys, and sometimes they're seeing more angles than we are, even because of the different tactical cameras that are around the stadium. So I like the idea. I think it's good for the game. Give each coach 2. And don't stop it at any other time during the game, so that the game has a flow and people can celebrate goals and all that other stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, the flow gets hurt in all of this. We understand, but getting the call right is important. And sadly, in this case, for New York City fans and team, they didn't get it right. And again, and then they wind up giving up the lead and can't get it back. The other thing that, like, we were talking about this before we did the show, was Alonso Martínez and how effective he's been and how good he's been. And yet they only gave him 61 minutes in this game. You thought that he had come out rather quickly. I tend to agree. I think he needs more of a run.
I regret I didn't ask that more clearly to Nick in my pregame show, the one-on-one, because it was something top of mind, to be honest with you. It's like, man, this is the guy that's going to score the goal for you to get you home with 3 points, in my mind. And remember, he in the second half, he dragged that one just a yard wide.
Yeah.
Tavon Gray played a pretty nice ball in. And one thing, and again, the pregame show with Nick and Roberto also has his pregame show on at exactly the same time. It's 7:15 tomorrow from Yankee Stadium when New York City plays Philadelphia. But I asked him about Martinez, just technically, the reception and the shot. It's so quick, and what it does to make it difficult for the keeper. The keeper has a difficult time being balanced when Alonso Martínez is taking one of those quick 2-touch shots. He's pretty good, man. You'd have to say you could say he's one of the better strikers in the league. I mean, you could say that right now.
He's the most efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just without a doubt. And I mean, look, they didn't bring him in as a striker, but he's pretty much grown into the role to the point of where he's being called into the Costa Rican national team, and he's started games for them now. So it's really like Tati Castellanos redo.
That's right.
They really. This is what they try to do with Talles Magno, and it didn't function. It didn't work, but it definitely worked with him. And he sort of reminds me a little bit of, and we spoke about this. Maybe it was even in the last NYCFC Views. It reminds me a little bit of Ismael Tajuri-Shradi as the fact that he was when he came in, it seemed like every single shot was on goal. You know, there was nothing that was wide. There was nothing that was high. It was either in or it was a keeper save.
Yeah. Yeah, no. No, Shradi was good that way. I remember that first year. I remember just looking. I can always remember the stats. It was like 18 shots, 12 on frame. You know,
even more than that. I think it was more. It was like 18, 16 or something. It was an outrageous number that he just didn't seem to miss when it came to it. It was great.
So now you've got 6 games left. Philadelphia has 6 games left. So the big game tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium. Big because it's Philadelphia is in that desperation mode. Interestingly, New York City's next 2 opponents faced each other in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, they
on
did.
Saturday. And Miami, even though Michael Uwa scored 2 minutes into the game, Messi came out and had a brace in the first half, assisted on Luis Suarez in the second half stoppage time, and la-di-da, 3-1. Inter Miami, they're going to win the Shield. And then what happens after that, who knows? But and they play at Atlanta, Roberto, tomorrow night on that poor artificial surface in Atlanta. So come on, Tata Martino. You got to keep Messi out and make sure he's 100% ready for Saturday Yankee Stadium.
Messi, I believe, has played already on that surface. And Tata Martino, I don't know how poor it is as far as comparing it to other turf surfaces that we have around the league, because some of them are better than others. But when Tata Martino was the coach of the Mexican national team and they played games in Atlanta, he preferred that turf to the temporary grass that they try to lay on all these stadiums that have artificial turf and that normally are pretty bad. Yeah. So he preferred that turf. So I don't think he's going to worry too much about it. We'll see how many minutes Messi plays, if he comes off the bench or he starts. I have a feeling he will play, but I don't know how many minutes he started. I mean, after not playing for like 3 months, he just came right in and played 90.
Yeah.
Gets 2 goals and an assist.
Well, Tata also might be, he might feel more comfortable in Atlanta too, having won an MLS Cup there. So I think, maybe he favors the Atlanta turf because of that a little bit.
Good luck. It's giving him good luck.
That it has. So 6 games.
Gave him an $8 million a year contract for 4 years.
And he's in good shape. So is Messi. So Suarez. The big 4 played. And the big 4 are also in the top 25 of jersey sales. We'll get to that in a minute here.
I didn't look at the numbers, but I would imagine Messi's number 1.
Messi's one.
I don't have to think too much about this to realize that's
Messi's 1 and Suarez is 2. Busquets is 11 and Alba is 15. 14 teams were represented. That means 15 teams were not, including the New York City Football Club. The Red Bulls had 2. John Tolkien coming in, man.
All right.
Man, alive. Little Jersey actor.
I actually like him.
Yeah, me too.
I like him.
And Emil Forsberg for the Red Bulls, but nobody from the New York City Football Club. No Matt Freese? Come on, man. I thought they loved Freese. What's going on, man?
Hey, keeper of the week. Goalie of the week for MLS.
Right. He was in the 11th. So what?
And the leader in percentages, the save percentage in the league.
Is that right? He's on top of that again?
Yes.
Okay. I was just trying to look up who's the kid. There's a kid in goal for Philadelphia. Andre Blake got hurt on international duty for Jamaica. That's why he was not in goal. A guy named Wick, isn't it? Is that what his name is? Andy Wick? I'm sorry. I thought I had it right in front of me. Roberto, help me out here, man.
I don't remember. Now I'm looking now.
All right. Anyway, so that was against Inter Miami. No Blake. There's no word as to whether he's going to be part of the squad. On here, I've got it here.
Andrew Rick, 18 years old.
So I think
he had 3 goals conceded and 1 save. That's not a good percentage.
No, his percentage is not next to Matt Freese up there, but and so it's Andrew Rick, and he's out of their academy. And they had that guy Semelet, who they played earlier in the year when Blake couldn't play, and he had some nightmares. So they, I think, are reluctant to put him in goal. So I don't know, Roberto. And I'm just going to say this without the facts in front of me, but New York City has played a number of teams this year that have not been with their full arsenal and have not taken advantage of it. And this would be another thing. If Andre Blake is not in goal and, Andy Rick is, sorry, Andrew, you're 18. You come on, man.
Just don't go back and remember Gaga Slonina's debut in Major League Soccer, in professional soccer.
Yep, I know. I remember it was a 0-0 and another 0-0 draw.
Another horrific 0-0 tie over in Chicago.
By the way, Gaga Slonina, he was in goal for Barnsley today in the EFL Cup against Manchester United. I have never seen his FOTMOB rating was 4.1, and it was red. You know how final score 7-0. 7-0. I mean,
no wonder Eddie was happy. And I was trying to see, obviously a big mistake. I was looking at the Champions League scores, but Man United is not in Champions League.
No, yeah. So that happened today, and so you got Philadelphia. You got Now we're gonna do a show in between Philadelphia and the Miami game, so we can get more into Messi and company. But we'll be watching them in Atlanta while we're at Yankee Stadium against Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, I mean, you look at their standing; they're below the playoff line, Roberto. So this is a proud team. Philadelphia, Brad, Jim Curtin, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a difficult affair, I would think, at Yankees.
And then remember that they sold Brujo Martinez to Corinthians. He's now playing next to Talis Magno. So he's gone, and Leon Flack is now at the bottom of the diamond. At least that's the way they played against Miami.
Yeah, there's another guy, Danley Jean Jacques, who I don't know much about him, but we'll have to, we'll know more about him by the time we go on the air tomorrow night. But he's another guy that's filled in for that position. I think I'm trying to remember when he was acquired. I can look real quick here, and
he's from Haiti.
Yeah,
24 years old.
He played at Mets. His last club was Mets, and he joined Philadelphia in August. So he's just come on board. So probably haven't been able to see too much of him.
Five games he's played so far.
Okay, and 11 caps for Haiti. And
yes,
yeah, and the Haitians are in the news.
He's got 2 goals. 2 goals for Haiti.
All right. Well, he's a midfielder, so maybe he can get forward a little bit too. So we'll see what happens. They normally play with a diamond, bottom of the diamond, Uwa up top with this. I also had to ask Nick, my final question was Ty Baribo. I mean, this guy, he really has come out of nowhere. 7 goals in a regular year. He had all 7 Leagues Cup goals for Philadelphia. He's got 14
that's
goals.
Crazy.
14 goals in 26 matches.
26-year-old Israeli. And before this, he played for Wolfsburger. And before that, Maccabi Petach, where he played 115 games and had 23 goals. In Wolfsburger, he got 73 games, 37 goals. And he's got 14 and 26 games for the Union. He's played 16 times for the Israeli national team with 3 goals for them.
He's a goal scorer.
His last goal was against the Red Bulls August 31st in a 2-0 win at Red Bull Arena.
All right. So it's him, Uwa Gazdag. That's who you got to pretty much stop tomorrow evening at Yankee Stadium, Roberto. All right. What else did I want to mention? LA Galaxy beat LAFC, El Tráfico 4-2, and the news there was Carlos Vela is back in the league with LAFC.
Let's not undersell that game. They were trailing 2-0 at halftime at home, and then they came out and they smoked LAFC. They smoked them. Vanny went like just go forward. And he had like all his offensive players out there. And God, I mean, they've got a lot of talent, that team. They have a lot of talent.
They did that with that guy. Paintsill was out. I think he was suspended the game. And yeah, that's I didn't watch it. Did you watch it when you got home?
No, I saw Ricky Pucci's goal, which was just freaking brilliant.
Yeah, I saw that too. Let's see. Red Bulls were beaten by Chicago 2-1. Tom Barlow scoring against his former team. That's always fun. BJ Callahan, he got his first win for Nashville, and they were on the road. They beat Atlanta 2-0. So Atlanta's below the playoff line. Philadelphia's below the playoff line. Nashville's below the playoff line. And if you look at the conferences, really, it's still a race. Anybody in the East can get into the playoffs, literally. Even New England, although they're the furthest out. They're 6 points out. But then you got Nashville 4 points below the line, along with Chicago 4 points, Montreal 3, Philadelphia 3, and Atlanta 1. So these teams are playing for their lives every weekend. And that's what New York City's encountering tomorrow night against Philadelphia. Seriously.
And a lot of those games for New York City are there because New York City still has to play Nashville again. They still have to play the Red Bulls. We're not fighting for their lives, but they do have to play Montreal again too.
Yes, they do on decision day. Now in the West, Roberto, really Sporting KC, St. Louis, San Jose has already been eliminated. But St. Louis and Kansas City they're just too far out of it. Which leaves only Austin and Dallas with a chance, but they're both 5 points behind Minnesota for the last playoff spot. And Austin just, it's really, that's going to be a tough one to look at in the offseason if they don't make the playoffs again. So that's over in the West. And anything else? Sean Johnson was the man of the match. Toronto beat Austin 2-1. So that was the other thing I wanted to mention. And I don't know. Do New York City supporters still like Sean? I don't remember how they feel about.
No, they got upset at him because Sean just I think said something about Yankee Stadium or something like it's nice to play in a real soccer stadium or something like that. And New York City fans did not take kindly to that.
Calm down, everybody.
I'm fine. I don't.
Not you. I'm saying it. I'm saying.
I'm like all for Yankee Stadium. I'm just like, hey, the more other teams and fan bases bitch about it, the more I like it. And Jim Curtin, by the way, and Philadelphia do love to make references to Yankee Stadium. Well, they get to play there again tomorrow.
They're not the only ones. Frank Lopez.
Hey, by the way, before I go,
Chicago.
Before you go there. Before you go, I just want to say something because it refers back to the Philly game. I was looking to see because I was giving my tickets away today to friends of mine to go see, a game for the first time, which I love doing. But then because there might be three, I decided I'm just going to go and went on Ticketmaster to see how much tickets were. Tickets for this game tomorrow night. I mean, if you got nothing better to do and you're, under $18 a ticket. To go see, and that's all in. That's all fees and all everything.
What's going on? What about Saturday? What's going on for Saturday?
They're over 200.
And how many? Do we know anything about pre-sale, or I guess we have to dig in?
It's gonna be a sellout. They're going to have 46,000. They're going to have 46,000 people for that game, which is the new sellout at Yankee Stadium, as I found out during the AC Milan Manchester City game. Capacity has been reduced at Yankee Stadium since the last time New York City sold it out in
year one. All right. When it was 48 plus.
It was 48 plus.
San Diego, they will be the 30th team in MLS next year, Roberto, as you know, and they hired a new coach, and he was introduced today, Mikey Varis. Now, you're going to like this guy, Roberto, for a number, and I'm going to play a clip from my Sirius XM-FC show that I like this guy. I like this guy and Pochettino, these new guys introduced into the head coaching world in the States here. So Mikey Varis, first of all, he's bilingual. So he's answering questions in English and Spanish during the course.
Yes, he's originally from Chile.
Well, he grew up in San Diego.
Yeah.
So he's comfortable in both. Here's some of the things he said. I want to be mindful of others and the earth we live in. I want to embrace challenges and the unknown. And San Diego draws a certain energy. So Now, listen to this. This is from my show, The Coaching Academy, when he was the U20 coach. And he's talking about, he had mentioned yoga somewhere earlier in the interview. So I brought it back up. And then he talked about some other things that he feels are vital to performance and his own health as a coach. So here's Mikey Varis from 2022.
Glenn, I have to say, yoga is one of 4 or 5 things in my life that had made abrupt changes. You know what I mean? Where you feel like you're going in a direction and then something hits you and it opens a whole new dimension of your life. And basically the idea of becoming mindful about things, slowing down. I've always been a pretty motivated person. I've always been a hard worker, but I would run at 1,000,000 miles an hour and sometimes do nothing. You know what I mean? And so yoga really helped me understand the idea of one, letting go of things you can't control, focusing on things you can, being mindful, and doing things for the sake of doing things. So coach this practice for the sake of coaching this practice. Don't coach this practice because it's going to lead to your next promotion or you're going to win that next game and then this next thing. No, do these things in the moment because this moment is the most important moment that we have. And so this helped shape a lot. I think it helped bring me in tune with some thoughts I had inside, but I could not verbalize or really put into context. And the other thing was the idea of controlling our breath. And so I believe strongly in working with players in performance breath and teaching them how to follow their breath, slow things down, whether that's before taking a penalty kick, whether that's before a game, visualization techniques that they taught me. I don't spend a lot of time with the stretching aspect and the pose aspect with players. I would leave that to players who want to explore that on their own. But the breath component and the idea of controlling the controllable, of doing things for the sake of doing things.
Wow.
I mean,
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So what I took out of that, okay, quickly, I thought that he was going to talk more about what it physically can do for you, the fact that it can make you a lot more flexible and all that. But no, he went in a different direction with that and what it can do for you mentally and I get the importance of it. I actually feel that is a really positive and good thing. I'm in with him as far as that. For using that with his team, and I think it will serve him well.
I like the performance breathing. We see it during penalties where you see the athlete take the big breath, but it's beyond that too. So he's an interesting guy, and I'll bring him back on again at some time. And well, time to kick it around before we finish this off there, Roberto.
Yep.
So this morning, I spoke with Guillaume Balaguer, who wrote in essence, the biography of Mauricio Pochettino. It's a 2017 published book. But we didn't meet him, but we were close to him as he was on the dais with the luminaries of U.S. soccer being introduced to the world. It was live streamed across the globe, and we were there. When you're there, this book, and I spoke about this with Guillaume, he talks about aura, because Pochettino brings up aura, that everybody has an aura, and it can fill a room. Did you sense that with him?
Yeah, but I also sense that he's a really down-to-earth guy. That impressed me more than just the aura of who he is and what he can do. Yeah. That he's just really down to earth, that he's a guy that, you could go and sit at a bar and have a couple of beers or wine or whatever, and just, talk about the world. And it would just be quite cool. I didn't get this bigger than life sensation from him. And I like that about him. I like that a lot about him. And I think that will serve him well with the U.S. national team, because on one end, there is this sense of like, wow, we've brought in somebody really special. And then on the other end, there's this, hey, he's actually really nice and easy to be able to talk to and get along with. So and there's no doubt that he has, that the players wherever he's been have a lot of respect for him. So it's going to be a very different feeling around the U.S. camp, because now he has no ties to anybody. He has no ties inside the federation except maybe Emma Hayes, right? And there's no ties to anybody else. So he's not going to play favorites. He's going to look at the player pool, and he's going to figure out what he likes for the type of team that he wants and how he wants to play. And it may look very different from the Greg Berhalter team. Now, we all think that that you have pretty much an entrenched 11 if everybody's healthy. He may go in a different direction. I'm really interested to see, that we hope he's got a full squad for the Mexico game. And I'm really interested to see how he puts them out there and what style of play they play in a atmosphere that is going to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not favorable.
Well, no, he's going to get him to be brave. At times maybe we've seen that. His biggest task is, and I'm really, really, really anxious to observe over this next couple of years leading into the World Cup how he figures out who's going to play goalkeeper for him. That's what I'm very, very curious about. But Roberto, you mentioned he's the kind of guy you wouldn't mind having a sip of wine with. Well, wine, it turns out, is sort of a big part of who he is. This is from my conversation with Guillaume Balaguer earlier today, which will be on Sirius XM this week. Go ahead, Jimmy.
There's a 15,000-foot mountain in Northern California called Mount Shasta. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
No.
Another reason I like this guy. In Bordeaux, I discovered the magic of wine. I bought books and started taking real interest in it. In fact, I signed for Bordeaux, turning Villarreal down, partly to live close to and enjoy the best wine region in the world. The guy, he stayed at Espanyol because of his passion and his heart, and he wanted to go to Bordeaux to drink more of the wine. Gotta love that, man.
Well, what you listen to or what you hear there is that he chooses things differently to your standard coach, if you like. And yeah, the bodega he's got at home is quite impressive. And yeah, bottle of wine is what he would do. I think the book starts like that, doesn't it? Opening a bottle of wine after a bad defeat against Newcastle that had just been in the last game of the season. They had been already relegated, destroys Spurs because most of the players were on holidays, and goes home, eats junk food, and opens a bottle of wine. And I remember I myself gave the book to key figures, and I gave it to Marcelo Bielsa when he was at Leeds. And after a press conference after the game and a victory against Bolton, he came over where I was in the very small press conference room, and he says, I want to, looking down, not looking at my eyes, looking down, says, I want to congratulate you and Pochettino and Mauricio for the book. A lot of what happens there is what happens to me. I also eat a lot of junk food. And yeah, just want to please pass my congratulations to Pochettino. And at that time, I was looking for a new subject for the book. I said, Marcelo, how about a book? No. He ran away from me, and that was it. But he sees, as you were saying earlier, the coaching is not just what you do in the training pitch. It's many more things like that. I think the book describes that, and certainly what you got is, as I said, somebody who thinks differently and who would just move to a football club because of wine.
That's awesome. By the way, I have something for you.
Okay.
I know that you're not going to believe this, but I actually have something for you. You ready for this?
Okay.
Here are the 5 best wineries in Atlanta or near Atlanta. I know I was like, okay, what is one of the thinnest books you can probably buy? And I was thinking, wineries in Atlanta. So anyway, I went and I looked this up. And so there's something called the Kaya Vineyard and Winery in Dahlonega. And the views are like absurd. They're gorgeous. Wolf Mountain Vineyards and Winery, also in Dahlonega. Yona Mountain Vineyards and Winery in Cleveland. This is somewhere in Georgia. Crane Creek Vineyards in Young Harris. and Monteluz Winery and Restaurant in Dahlonega. So there's an area called Dahlonega down there that is supposed to be really good. So there's a couple of other places, but I gave you the top 5.
I don't know those areas, but I didn't drink wine back in the days I went to school. I was just drinking all that punch with like 15 different alcohols in it. Whatever it was.
now you're making me worried for my son who's up
Oh,
there in
sorry.
Maris.
Well, I'm he'll be at some parties where there's punch. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure he will.
He'll be all right.
He's pretty responsible, so I'm good.
So he made a mention there. I want to play one more thing from my interview with Guillaume. And it really is tremendous just to hear all the different stories. He's very close to him. And he talks about, at one point in the book, something called universal energy, which he sort of discovered with his wife, Karina. So I bring that up because of a place that gives me that sort of feeling. It's called Mount Shasta in Northern California. Play that one, please, Jimmy.
There's a 15,000-foot mountain in Northern California called Mount Shasta. It's one of my favorite places in the world because there is an energy. There is an energy from this particular mountain, and at least for me, and I've heard for others. So here from the book. I also believe, this is Pochettino in your words, I also believe nothing happens by chance, that there is a reason for everything. Karina and I call it universal energy. My wife helped me get to grips with it and gain a more in-depth understanding. It isn't superstition or black magic. I believe there is a science behind it. It helps me break down day-to-day life, comprehend things, even possibly my own past. I am very happy that a guy leading our team on the men's side thinks like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different, isn't it? And it's something that obviously we could have done a book only on that. But it just opens up a door that in your case has resonated with you. For instance, in other cases, people may question what that is and then start exploring it and maybe discovering something about themselves. So that is a great thing, to actually explore the life of somebody and the mind of somebody, and then he gives you, rewards you with things of his own experience that may help you. And I think that's what he does. This is something that is very, very important to him, and something that again needs to go back to, because I think the day-to-day of running a football club or now a national side takes you away from where you are. But he has helped himself in a way to put in writing what his essence is, to just remember. And this is certainly one of the things that has to be linked to what Pochettino is. And I'm looking forward to the moment where somebody asks him in a press conference and take away, whatever the injuries are, whatever. You should do that.
I will do that. But this is just, I think it's somewhat intriguing. This is a mindful coach. We saw Mikey Varis, mindful, just deep thinkers, certainly not taking things for surface value. And and then Guillaume, and that's again Guillaume Balaguer. If you recognize him, he's on CBS a lot, especially during Champions League coverage. And he told his own story. So Roberto, he went in every Monday during the course of the season and spent an hour with Pochettino. I mean, that is great access. But he said one time he went in there and he wasn't feeling good. Guillaume wasn't feeling good, but mentally he was like in a bad place. And Pochettino recognized it and spent that hour just focused on Guillaume Balaguer. Here's the guy, he's got a game to get ready for the. So it's just, I don't know. I'm very confident we got a special person in there. I really am.
I agree 100%. He may be the best choice, period. I mean, as much as we love, Klopp and everything that he did, and he may be even better than for this team. But we'll see. We're all waiting to see. He doesn't have a lot of time to implement everything that he would love to implement. As I say, it's 2 years, but what is it, like 10 windows that he has left? Yeah, I believe Jeff Carlisle mentioned that. He's so good, and we'll see what he can do. And if everything goes well, you'd hope that he signs on for the next 4. That's getting ahead of myself a little bit, but still.
Well, there was an intimation by JT Batson, I thought, in the I think you were there. There was like an impromptu scrum with him and Cindy Parlow Cohn, the president of the association. And they said there was this talk about development and putting him in the right spot, after the 26 World Cup. And you get the feeling that he's going to have some role, or they would prefer he has some role beyond 26, whether it's head coach of the national team or maybe in some sort of a developmental picture. I don't know.
Put the whole thing, set up everything properly for the development of soccer for the U.S. national team, as far as all the youth teams are concerned.
All right, man. Well,
they could do worse,
Yeah,
they could do worse.
So our game tomorrow. So New York City they're hosting Philadelphia. Won at Philadelphia earlier in the year, 2-1. Now coming home and seeing if they can repeat that performance. Airtime for myself and Roberto. Roberto on the Spanish commentary, myself on the English at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Pre-game show kickoff per normal, 7:40 p.m. NYCFC.com/radio, NYCFC app, TuneIn app, Mixler.
Go find us there.
You can find us there. And of course, it's very easy to sync the audio and the video. I've done it, which is proof that it can be done.
I'm not going to argue, Glenn.
You don't need to argue.
No, I'm not arguing with that.
All right, so we're going to come back on. We're going to come back on Friday if our sick podcast producers will have us to get ready for Miami and review Philadelphia. So for Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks.
Yeah, that guy.
Good night from NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and